Hi, everyone. I guess I'm getting us started tonight. So everyone knows that this is the original auditorium from this building, which was designed by Joseph Urban and his. Can you hear me? Okay. No. I don't know if I can do much about that. Are you turning me up there? So can you hear me okay now? So this is the original auditorium from this building. This is really the last part of the building that is still intact. And I apologized last year for the chairs, which aren't my fault. But they're still like that. And the reason is they're all custom made, and the wood dates back to 1932. And this is a landmark part of the building. It looks pretty much like it did in 1932. It was designed by Joseph Urban and his wife, Mary Porter Beagle, who was a dancer and a professor at Barnard. But next year, supposedly. I'm John Reed, faculty here in the Creative Writing Program, and the director of the Creative Writing Program at the New School, which is home to the BA in Creative Writing, a Writing and Democracy undergraduate honors program, an MFA in Creative Writing, and an MA in Creative Publishing and Critical Journalism. Years ago, I was on the stage as a board member of the NBCC. It's my privilege tonight to take a moment to thank the NBCC and to thank our authors and the courageous publishing people who are out there, and to thank you for joining us at this year's National Book Critics Circle Awards. The New School's relationship with the NBCC goes way back. Our faculty and alumnus have been board members and award recipients, and our communities have worked together in classrooms and on publications and events since before the memory of anyone present this evening. The annual award ceremonies have been hosted at the New School for over 20 years. The cultural lore of creative writing cites the New School as having offered the first academic creative writing workshop in 1931. A few years ago, I discovered that the course that was to become the first workshop was originally offered in 1927. It was a 4-year evolution before the class became what we would recognize today as a creative writing workshop. It took 10 semesters to transform a course based on the editorial board of a newspaper into the form that would serve as a model for creative writing workshops for the century to come. The process of an editorial and news cycle informing a critical model is familiar to the NBCC, which has a strikingly consonant origin story. When we seek understanding and a kind of worship of rigorous engagement with what concerns us, what excites us, what ails us, we find the better part of empathy and our vision. There are a few exemplars of the creative spirit, people who elevate our ability to support one another, to read one another, to be grateful for one another. We're coming up on 100 years of creative writing at the New School and 30 years of the MFA. For many of those 30 years, we have had at the New School an extraordinary exemplar of the creative spirit. The first person on my list of people to thank and celebrate is Lori Lynn Turner, yet another alumnus of our MFA and our associate director. Thank you as well to our team at TNS for bringing us this evening, Executive Dean Alex Alanikoff, Bianca Lamini, Mary Carmelek, Lizette Boer, Hijab Ahmad, Camilla Gonzalez, and Rebecca Baldwin. And thank you to the NBCC. Having been a board member, I understand that the task taken on by the NBCC is, of course, impossible, which is why we should be so thankful for the lavish labor, the grand heart, and the even grander dedication of the NBCC, its board, and its members. In addition to the NBCC board, thank you especially to Adam Dalva, NBCC president. Iris Jamal Dunkel, and Christoph Ermscher, VPs of the awards. Also, thank you to Jared Drake of Willbound, BeLive, and David Karp of PT Knitwear Books. So you may have seen, as you came into the building, some narwhal iconography. To clarify, the narwhal is the mascot of the new school and Parsons. As the story goes, and I don't know if it's true, but I'd like it to be, a vote was scheduled to choose the school mascot, and nobody knew about it, and the narwhal won by a vote-in campaign. The 6 people who voted penned in narwhal. And in typical new school fashion, the mascot was thus ordained. Just a few days ago, upstairs in the offices of the MFA, I was reminded that a group of narwhals is called a blessing. And I thought that tonight I would thank you as honorary narwhals. We are grateful for our many blessings. With that, I turn the mic over to President Adam Dalva.
Hi, I'm Adam Dalva, President of the National Book Critics Circle. It's my honor to welcome you to the NBCC Awards for Publishing Year 2025. This is the only award ceremony thrown by 24 introverts with argumentative streaks, so do what you can. Thank you, John Reed, for the introduction. Thank you to the inexhaustible Lori Lynn Turner and our host at the New School. Hello to everyone in the auditorium. It's like the best day of the year in New York. It's so great to be here with you. Thank you for braving American infrastructure to get here. Welcome to everyone joining virtually via our live stream presented by our good friends at Wildbound. I know that these days we all love long presidential speeches with lots of applause lines, but I'm going to try to keep us moving so we can focus on the writers. The writers, thank you so much to our finalists. Tonight is all about you. Our NBCC board considered over 1,000 books this year in 8 genre categories. We held many, many dozens of hours of Zoom meetings and Slack conversations and in-person deliberations, culminating in a marathon session to reach our results. As our secretary, Colette Bancroft, said at our magnificent finalist reading last night, we really do have the best book club in the world. And that greatness is thanks to the writers, whose searing, insightful, hilarious, and moving books rose to the top this year. In the past, NBCC awarded Roberto Bolaño for 2666 and Toni Morrison for Song of Solomon, Claudia Rankin for Citizen and John Ashbery for Self-Portrait in a Convex Mirror, Susan Sontag for On Photography and Alexei Navalny for Patriot, Robert Cowher for Lyndon Johnson twice, and Maxine Hong Kingston for The Woman Warrior. Tonight, our winners will join them. Can I ask if all our finalists can stand so we can applaud you one more time, if you're able? Now, to keep that good energy going, let's talk about American literary criticism. Criticism's always been tough, but it's getting harder. Newspapers are closing and cutting book sections ad nauseum. Magazines are downsizing. Freelance pitches are harder to place, and deep thought is at risk of being usurped by artificial slop. And the payments, they don't seem to go up as far as I can tell, do they? The very concept of the free press is under attack. And yet here we are, defiantly carrying on the NBCC's mission, to seek the right for our members and for critics around the world to think freely, to never be afraid to voice their opinions, even in these turbulent times. When done well, criticism allows for the kind of slow thinking that creates new networks of thought, the kind of deliberation that feeds into culture, politics, life. A robust, vibrant book section has a downstream effect. The more we write, the more change we can enact, creatively and practically. That's why we're so delighted to honor the brilliant Rhoda Fang, winner of this year's Nona Balakian Citation for Excellence in Reviewing, a freelance critic who represents the best of what we do. Tonight, we'll also celebrate the worthy winners of the Toni Morrison Achievement Award. We'll celebrate National Public Radio, and we will celebrate the Public Broadcasting Service. And we'll give our Lifetime Achievement Award, the Sandrof, to the trailblazing journalist and historian Frances Fitzgerald, who I hope is watching at home. Hi, Frances. The NBCC was founded 52 years ago. Our number has blossomed to 850 critics. Our 24-person board, which is elected by those members, governs the organization. Every job in the NBCC is done completely for free, including, to my horror, my own. Our virtual board members run our website, handle technology, apply for grants, file tax returns, mentor our emerging critics, and contact publishers requesting so many hundreds of books. We have no full-time staff. We have one part-time staff. Board members handed you your programs tonight. They're standing by the stairs. Well, they're sitting by the stairs. That ruined my speech. They'll be cleaning up the venue after the event, and they'll be going strong at the after party in the wee hours. This is a board of friends. They're also some of the best critics in the world. So I wonder if I can secondly invite what Toni Morrison liked to call the wild faculty, our board members, to stand and be thanked. It was almost as long as the authors. It wasn't quite as good. I'd especially like to recognize the work of our co-VPs of awards, Christoph Ermscher, who's hiding backstage, and Iris Jamal Dunkel to my right. They made every minute of the ceremony special. Thank you. They sent hundreds of emails, they hauled wine, and somehow each of them is an awards chair too, so please remember to give them an extra amount of applause when they lurch exhausted onto the stage later tonight. Thank you to our financial advisor, Marianne Winnick, our tech support, Vita Khan. Thank you to our fabulous publicist, Katie Freeman. Thank you to our interpreters. Thank you to our member volunteers in the NBCC and my 5 students from Rutgers University for giving their time tonight. There'll be no extra credit. Thank you to the 4 board members who will cycle off from service this week. Each are spectacular contributors to the work of the NBCC. Colette Bancroft, Jacob Appel, Marie Myung-Ock-Lee, and Jane Chiabatari. To list their accomplishments would take the rest of the night. These are our NBCC historians, our moral consciences, our passionate advocates, our organizational forces. We will miss you. Thank you for your work. I'd also like to now acknowledge our sponsors, whose generous donations make this celebration possible. Thank you to Wildbound PR, Jared and Julia Drake, for their collaboration and their special kindness in donating the stream for our reading last night. Thank you, Adrian Gonzalez, Laura Verado-Goodrick, and Ian Dwyer for keeping the tech running so well. Thank you to Brooklyn Brewery, Curious Elixirs, Domaine Messier, and Duckhorn Vineyards. Thank you, Quarles and Purslane. Thank you, Washington Square Hotel and Narrator Galleries. Thank you, Hawthorne Foundation and Ellen Toscano, Critical Minded and Rashid Shabazz, and the Poetry Foundation for your support and your friendship. Thank you, Morgenstern Books in Bloomington, Indiana, and to P&T Knitwear, who will be selling all of our finalist books in the lobby as soon as this ceremony wraps up. Please buy them. They're all really good. The NBCC is a little iconoclastic. We take no money from publishers. We don't charge for the stickers on books. We don't charge for submissions to our prizes. In this time, that makes your donations more important than ever. The shoestrings are at risk of fraying. We're grateful for your donations using the QR code on the program or screen if you're watching at home, or by going to bookcritics.org/give. The internet in here is suboptimal, but that's no excuse. You can take the programs with you and scan the codes outside. Please note that after the event, there is a reception in the Star Foundation Hall. But unfortunately, due to space limitations and our staggering popularity, it is completely sold out. If you do not have a ticket secured, you will not be able to enter. It will be weird. It will be awkward. Our volunteers will be checking wristbands at the door. They should look like this. And now, I have the considerable pleasure of honoring Elizabeth Taylor, the recipient of this year's NBCC Service Award, which is given to an individual for their contributions to the NBCC. We have never given this award to a sitting member, but in the many years I've served on the board, this was the easiest decision we've ever made. In characteristic Liz fashion, she chose not to give a speech tonight, so we can keep the focus on the books, but I hope she forgives me 2 paragraphs. The longtime literary editor of the Chicago Tribune, the chair of several Pulitzer juries and many more NBCC juries, and a great, great writer, Elizabeth Taylor has given countless hours to the NBCC, including serving as president. In a troubling time for the board, she rebuilt confidence in the organization. She increased our membership roles, contributed to our nonprofit status, and has championed the well-being of book critics for more than a quarter of a century. So thank you, Liz. Thank you for your sharp mind, your kindness, your grace, your generosity, your discretion, and your outside-the-box thinking. I love when people say "for your discretion" in speeches, don't you? But thank you. Best of all, Liz is the founder of the NBCC's Emerging Critics Fellowship, which has helped create a generation of new outstanding critics. This year's class, several of whom are here tonight, live and write on several continents. Many, many former emerging critics serve on our current board. And what is often said to be a troubling time for criticism, it is my very favorite thing that we do, and it gives us all hope for what's to come, and it's all thanks to Liz. To quote our former president and member of Liz's inaugural class of ECs, Heather Scott Partington, Liz has a sign-off that the board has embraced. It signifies the resolve we need to carry us forward, onward. Elizabeth Taylor, please stand so we can applaud you. If you know Liz, you know she hated every second of that. And so we're going to go onward. We all have our favorite former NBCC board members. Mine is another great Elizabeth Hardwick, who won our Fiction Award for Sleepless Nights and served this organization well. I'm going to give her the last word, quoting Hardwick. I'm fortunate to have had all my life the passion for studying and enjoying literature and for trying to add a bit to it, as interestingly as I can. This passion has given me much joy. It has given me friends who care for the same things. It has given me employment, escape from boredom, everything. The greatest gift is the passion for reading. It is cheap, it consoles, it distracts, it excites, it gives you knowledge of the world and experience of a wide kind. It is a moral illumination. Okay. If anyone needs me, I'll be backstage disassociating. Enjoy the night. Congratulations again.
It's a long walk from over there, all alone. Good evening. My name is Mandana Shaffa, and I'm the chair of the Gregg Barrios Book and Translation Prize, as well as co-vice president of membership with my wonderful partner, Rebecca Hussey, whom I can't see. As you know, the Barrios Prize was created to mark excellence in translated literature across genres, languages, and countries of origin, and to specifically honor both author and translator for their contributions. Last night's reading was such a special evening, and for the last 24 hours, I've been thinking about storytelling, which is surely the most communal and hopeful act there is. Writing for the present moment and writing for the future that will come. Now more than ever, it's a privilege, a joy, and necessity to celebrate freedom of thought and speech, the universality of the human spirit, our nourishing connections with each other, and with the greater world, through literary works of art. So over the last 8 months, our phenomenal judging committee, some of whom are here this evening, read hundreds of books, faced with the impossible task of narrowing them down to a dozen and then a final 6, and were later joined by a group of our wonderful member critics this January to determine the winner. And with my membership hat on, along with Rebecca, if you aren't already, we would love for you to become a member of the NBCC. As a reminder, the nominees are Exophony, Voyages Outside the Mother Tongue by Yoko Tawada, translated from the Japanese by Lisa Hoffman-Kuroda, published by New Directions. This collection of essays is a fascinating and open-ended examination of the possibilities engendered by multilingualism and cross-culturalism, particularly the exophonic experience of living outside of one's mother tongue. A generative inquiry that speaks to and for those of us who love multiple languages and language itself. Heartlamp by Banu Mushtaq, translated from the Kannada by Deepa Basti, from And Other Stories. These sharply crafted, emotional short stories in a rare translation from Kannada reveal the quotidian and extraordinary lives of often oppressed, resilient Muslim women in southern India, in a moving depiction of vivid characters and their environment, buffeted by community strictures, political forces, and patriarchy. Near Distance by Hannah Stoltenberg, translated from the Norwegian by Wendy H. Gabrielsen from Biblioasis. In an intimate narrative of a fraught relationship between mother and adult daughter at a time when both are adrift, offering an insightful and clear-eyed portrayal of identity and agency and the delicate friction between self-protection and longing to emotionally connect. Sad Tiger by Neige Sino, translated from the French by Natasha Lehrer from 7 Stories. This is an unforgettable account of the horrific sexual abuse perpetrated on the author by her stepfather when she was a child. Excavating memories and breaking her silence, both in a public trial and in this book, is a reclamation of the self and a call to reveal such monstrosities. The Frog in the Throat by Markus Werner, translated from the German by Michael Hoffman, and this is a book from NYRB Classics. This is a stylistically ambitious, sometimes dark, sometimes rollicking and memorable multi-vocal novel about a protagonist whose body, his very voice, is haunted by his deceased and hypercritical father, and more expansively, about the conflict between traditional and modern life. And finally, The Wax Child by Olga Raun, translated from the Danish by Martin Aitken, which was published by New Directions. This is narrated by the eponymous and unsettling wax doll created by a young Danish noblewoman accused of sorcery in the 17th century, with distinctive storytelling that is artful, gripping, and altogether otherworldly, a poetic examination of the legacy of witch trials and the power of feminine magic. It is my distinct honor to present the 2025 Barrios Book and Translation Prize to Sad Tiger by Neige Sino, translated from the French by Natasha Lehrer. So, I'm sorry to say that Neige and Natasha are very sorry that they can't be here in person today. But they have sent us a video acceptance, after which Ruth Weiner of 7 Stories will come on stage and accept the award on their behalf. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good night. I'm Neige Sino. I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight. I'm sending this message to say how proud and how happy and how grateful I am that my book has been read and liked by book critics at the Book Critics Circle. I am especially grateful because I know that book critics, don't focus only on the stories that are told in books. They are sensitive to the form, which makes me happy in this case, because this book has been read a lot by many people, only focusing on the story because it's a story of child abuse, and I think that's fine. I think that doesn't mean that the form does not convey what it's supposed to convey, but I myself am very interested and focused on the form when I work, trying to build up a narrative voice with specific qualities. And I think I would describe it in this book as the process of a mind trying to come to terms with its own contradictions, exploring its own darkness. Like I'm a scuba diver, diving in some very deep water and exploring things and trying to bring to the surface what I've seen. And I can do this only through the way I'm going to put this, which builds up a specific energy, a specific aesthetical object, which I can see when I try to describe it. It's very hard to describe what form is and what form does. And so I'm grateful that this book has been liked by book critics who focus on this aspect. It makes me very proud. Thank you so much.
I was immensely grateful to be entrusted with translating Neige's incandescent, luminous, terrifying, and incredibly important book. Sad Tiger is about many things. One of the things it's about is language, how we talk about and write about and understand the terrible world of sexual abuse. And how we translate the books that tell us about it is also part of the story, for Neige's work reverberates far beyond the borders of France. It was a weighty responsibility, and also a great privilege to translate Sad Tiger, and I am so grateful to the National Book Critics Circle for recognising the brilliance of Nej's writing and awarding it the Gregg Barrios Book and Translation Prize, and to Dan Simon and everyone at Seven Stories Press for championing such an unusual and difficult book and giving English speakers the opportunity to read it. And of course, most of all, thank you to Nej for writing it. It changed how I walk through the world, and if you haven't read it yet, please do, for it will change how you walk through the world too.
I absolutely did not prepare anything for this. They said they spoke beautifully about the books, and we just thank you so much for acknowledging it here and for having us. Thanks.
For your congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Hussey.
And I'm Rebecca Morgan Frank. We're board members and co-chairs of the John Leonard Prize for our first book, founded in 2013 in honor of renowned critic and one of NBC's founders, John Leonard. The legacy of Leonard and his early attention to such vital voices as Toni Morrison, Maxine Hong Kingston, and Gabriel Garcia Marquez is carried on by our general membership, who have for this award selected such debuts as Carmen Maria Machado's Her Body and Other Parties, Tommy Orange's They're There, and Tessa Hull's graphic memoir, Feeding Ghosts.
Our Leonard Prize finalist list was created through a uniquely collaborative method. Some nominations came from the NBCC membership, and others from board reading committees as part of our continued commitment to diversity of genre. Over the past 2 months, the 56 John Leonard Prize committee members read deeply and dialogued over Slack and Zoom, offering astute critical vision and generosity to the debate in preparation for their vote. The 6 nominees are
Baldwin, A Love Story by Nicholas Boggs, published by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. Boggs' gorgeous and riveting biography of James Baldwin explores the work and life of this American icon through the revelatory frame of 4 key personal and creative relationships: painters Buford Delaney and Lucien Happersberger, actor Engin Cesar, and artist Joran Sazak. Crown by Evanthea Bromley, published by Grove Press. This lyrical, moving, and mythic fragmented tale of Jude, a single pregnant mother, and her 9-year-old twins, told from their alternating points of view across a harrowing 3-day intersection of eviction from their trailer park home, June's labor in an overwhelming hospital, and survival along the river amidst post-pandemic economic precarity. Salvage by Heji Choi, published by University of Wisconsin Press, a refreshingly sharp, sparse, and funny debut poetry collection that turns an assured lyricism on its head in elusive defiance, introducing a distinctive wit. When I open my mouth in cleverness, her speaker commands, scream into it.
Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa, translated by Polly Barton and published by Hogarth, surprises with its innovative form and bold new voice. Telling the story of a woman exploring her intellect and desires while living in a care home with a congenital muscle disorder, the novel examines the body, disability, and selfhood with striking assurance and verve. Mood Machine, The Rise of Spotify and the Costs of the Perfect Playlist by Liz Pelly, published by Atria One Signal Publishers. is a deeply researched analysis of how corporations and technologies shape culture and the economic and creative lives of artists. With its close look at Spotify, it reveals with thrilling intelligence how phenomena such as playlists and algorithms have transformed the music industry and music itself. The Slip by Lucas Schaefer, published by Simon & Schuster, is a daring high-wire act of a novel that looks at race, sex, and American identity through a haunting missing person story. Set in and around an Austin, Texas boxing gym, its humor and propulsive plot challenge and delight in equal measure.
And the winner of the John Leonard Prize for the year 2025 is
Baldwin, A Love Story by Nicholas Boggs. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. I didn't prepare anything, of course, but I did watch an interview of John Leonard with James Baldwin in 1963 for the first time today. So I'll turn to that in a second, but first, thank you to Farrar Strassen Giroux, to my amazing editor, Jonathan Galassi, to Barbara Cohen at FSG, to Una Hallahan, to Steve Weil. Thank you to the Baldwin estate. Thank you to the Joran Kazak estate. Thank you to many, many other people. So when I was listening to that interview, I was really struck by how this was right after Another Country had come out and had gotten really bad reviews, and Leonard asked him about that. And Baldwin was mortified and disappointed, but he was very measured about it as well. And he said something that he would echo later in his life, which is that great artists and writers are not judged in their time. They're judged later on. And it's been really a beautiful thing to see how Baldwin's work has been reevaluated and reclaimed by a new generation. I'm very honored to have played a small role in that. And I'm very honored that NBCC chose a first book that took 20 years to write. So thank you very, very much.
Hi, my name is Lauren LeBlanc, and I'm honored to serve as the co-chair for the Balakian Committee with my esteemed colleague, Colette Bancroft. Beginning in 1991, the Nona Balakian Award has recognized excellence in criticism without nominations or external curation, Instead, to be considered, any National Book Critics Circle member in good standing may submit up to 5,000 words of their published criticism from the year before. It's as simple as that. As a committee, we read each submission before sharing our thoughts and observations in Zoom meetings. Together, the committee votes to decide upon 5 finalists. After that, the entire board reads the finalist submissions and votes to select a winner. Please encourage your peers and favorite writers to secure their membership and apply next fall. Before I go any further, I'd like to recognize the 4 finalists for the award: Priscilla Gilman, Edna Bonham, James Marcus, and Julia M. Klein. Thank you so much for your remarkable work. This year's winner is Rhoda Fang. She is a previous finalist for the Balakian. No staff writer, she is a freelance writer whose nimble and incisive prose finds its home in the hands of numerous editors and publications that range from daily newspapers to literary and political journals. This is no small feat in what we all know is a competitive and ever-shrinking market. Success such as hers demands hustle as well as brilliance. At home, reviewing either fiction or nonfiction, Rhoda brings her keen intellect to bear through lucid prose that situates her subjects within their larger cultural context without fanfare or the benefit of a long runway. No matter the audience or the word count, her eye remains fixed on the bewilderment of living. It is our honor to award Rhoda Fang the 2025 Nona Balakian Citation for Excellence in Criticism.
Thank you to the National Book Critics Circle and the Balakian Committee for this incredible honor. It's genuinely terrifying to be standing in front of you all right now, especially for someone who has always aspired to the anonymity of a food critic. That was really back in the days when the job description of a food critic did not require people to go in front of a camera to explain the mouthfeel of fennel pollen to a ring light. Two other small reasons for my terror right now. First, this speech has not been inflicted upon and subsequently improved by an editor. Second, my employer, a decidedly non-literary organization in DC, has little to no sense of how I've been spending my ill-defined lunch breaks, evenings, and dwindling vacation time. They'd likely be discomfited if they did. Call it quiet sabbaticaling, call it a lie of the mind. The spigot of thinking about books does not shut itself off just because I'm laying out a 16-page newsletter in InDesign and praying that I get no angry letters from readers about anti-nausea medications. As for how I came to be a professional disappointment, I blame Penguin Classics, who is maybe not here today or tonight. If I had to carbon date it, my earliest introduction to criticism probably came from reading the introductions in several of those black spine books. I have strong tactile memories of opening a Penguin edition of David Copperfield, which was sent to me by the publisher after I cold emailed the company with a list of typos I'd spotted in another Penguin book. Reading the introduction to that novel and more intros to more novels led to reading longer pieces and literary periodicals, which gave me the delicious feeling of eavesdropping on a room full of brilliant people who had been arguing for decades. Only later, once I started reading more contemporary fiction, did it occur to me that I might try to join that conversation. The impulse often arises, I think, from a particular kind of intellectual loneliness. If you're no longer at a university and too socially anxious to join a book club, you start seeking out the voices that might replace the spirited chatter of a seminar room. You hunt down criticism in journals and magazines, you listen to podcasts and author interviews, you fall down footnote rabbit holes and ask your friends with university logins to download scholarly articles for you. What you're really doing is trying to conjure a cohort of fellow readers and interlocutors, an imagined republic even, and listening for the ways that those minds speak with and sometimes past one another. So that's my story about tripping into criticism, and I'm sticking with it. I sometimes get asked what kind of critic I think I am. That easily depends on the day and the number of rejections that have piled up in my inbox. Pauline Kael once wrote that, quote, "A critic with a single theory is like a gardener who uses a lawnmower on everything that grows." At the risk of sounding like a horticultural menace, I often think of myself as a critic at small who practices a kind of termite criticism. The term is half-inched from Manny Farber's Termite Art. As he wrote in his essay cum manifesto, White Elephant Art versus Termite Art, quote, "A peculiar fact about termite, tapeworm, fungus, moss art is that it goes always forward, eating its own boundaries, and likely as not leaves nothing in its path other than the signs of eager, industrious, unkempt activity. In my experience, there's nothing kempt about writing a review. Whether the limit is 800 words or 3,000, it's an agonizing process of moving clause by clause through a mound of language, tunneling after a thought that keeps lighting out just ahead of you, perking yourself on any number of wrong or half-relevant ideas. The hope, at least, is that amid the industriousness, something useful and only slightly unsightly appears. A clearer sense of what a book is doing, how it speaks to the present and past, what strange delights it smuggles into a reader's life. While there seems in 2026 to be no shortage of wood for termite critics to chew through, there have been distressing signs of fumigation. The developments that add streaks of gray to a bibliophile's hair are familiar to many of us in this room. The elimination last month of the Washington Post's book world, the shrinking acreage devoted to reviews across other newspapers and magazines, as Adam was speaking to earlier, freelancers grudgingly accepting area code rates to write for publishers raking in telephone number profits. When critical spaces vanish, the conversation around books inevitably contracts with them. A quick word about the Post's former book critics, Ron Charles and Becca Rothfeld, both previous winners of this citation or award. They both practice criticism at a level that routinely leaves me translucent with envy. With Ron Charles, his sunlit sentences have the power to spark your own interest in the latest work of literary fiction. With Becca, you get the sense of a perpetual motion machine who has read and metabolized everything, a cosmophage, as Wayne Kostenbaum once referred to Susan Sontag, someone who eats the world. Their work has been consistently illuminating and exhilarating to read and argue with, and you should all follow Ron on Substack and Becca at The New Yorker. I also do want to acknowledge the finalists for this year's citation, Edna Bonhomme, Priscilla Gilman, Julia Klein, and James Marcus, any one of whom could easily be standing in my place tonight. And finally, I want to thank the readers, many of whom I will never meet, who still care enough about the fragile ecosystem of books to subscribe to magazines and newspapers. Reading criticism is a generous act. It means choosing to spend time inside someone else's thinking, following the crooked path of their curiosity. The editors who have allowed me to perform some of my thinking this previous year, John Williams, Kate Tuttle, Sean Burns, and Chloe Adavas, have my deep gratitude. And my gratitude extends to the authors of all the books that nourished me last year, even those I did not have time to review. Because they continue to be unsurpassed technologies for rearranging the furniture of one's mind, books, I feel confident in proclaiming, will keep appearing in the world. And as long as they do, there will be readers trying to figure out what they mean and how they mean. This impulse to worm into a work won't stop just because there are fewer outlets. But I've exceeded my time, I think, so I'll break here and do what termites do best and recede into the woodwork. Thank you.
You're halfway to cocktails. It's okay. I'm Jacob Appel, the chair of the Life Achievement Awards Committee. You may notice the sling. It got pretty heated during the deliberations this year. This is actually my fifth and final year in this role, a role I actually wrested from fellow board member Michael Schau back when I had two arms. When Michael first assumed this role a decade ago, our honorees were a pantheon of genius, but their demographics resembled those of the Confederate Senate. I am thrilled that over the past 10 years, the individuals and organizations we have honored, luminaries like Percival Everett, Joy Harjo, and Sandra Cisneros, have increasingly come to reflect the American literary community in all of its brilliant diversities. I do hope whoever follows me in this role will stay true to that vision. On a more serious note, as chair of the Life Achievement Awards Committee, I want to acknowledge the challenge of celebrating awards at a time of repression and war, when writers' voices remain suppressed and silenced by repressive regimes abroad, and civil society remains under threat at home. Neither literature nor criticism would be possible without freedom of conscience, and the MBCC remains committed to the welfare of dissident writers around the globe. On a much happier note, it is my pleasure to introduce the 36th Annual Sandrof Award for Life Achievement. The award honors an individual who has, over time, made significant contributions to book culture. It is named after the late Ivan Sandrof, the book critic at the Worcester Evening Gazette, a man of great vision and conviction, who, along with John Leonard and Nona Balakian, founded this organization in 1974. And I now have the enormous pleasure of announcing the winner of the 36th Annual Sandrof Award is the pioneering and courageous journalist Frances Fitzgerald. Starting in 1972, with Fire in the Lake, the Vietnamese and the Americans in Vietnam, the first serious work of American literature to stem from our military excursion in Southeast Asia, Fitzgerald has never been afraid to speak truth to power or to challenge the received wisdom. After Fire in the Lake won the Pulitzer Prize, Fitzgerald continued to explore the stories that the rest of the journalistic community was missing. Bias in textbooks in Texas, Ronald Reagan's deeply flawed missile defense system, and the 4th-century evolution of the modern Christian right in the Evangelicals, The Struggle to Shape America, which was honored with the NBCC Award for Nonfiction in 2017. While Ms. Fitzgerald cannot be here today, and hopefully she's out there watching, this affords a pretext for me to introduce the brilliant and talented Elizabeth Taylor, former president, longtime literary editor of the Chicago Tribune, this year's Service Award winner, and 2-time Academy Award winner for her breakout roles in Butterfield 8 and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, to accept the award on her behalf.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank goodness you didn't launch into a Michael Jackson joke. So I'm not Frances Fitzgerald, as it may be apparent. I'm much more of a mutt here. But I'll read what Frankie has to say. I'm so sorry not to be there in person, but I can speak to you through my medium. Elizabeth Taylor. I want to thank you for giving me the National Book Critics Ivan Sandrof Lifetime Achievement Award. It is a great honor, and it gives me great pleasure to receive it. There's one thing that I need to know, and that is, does lifetime signify that I'm dead already? Or are you celebrating my imminent demise? No, we are not, Frankie. True, she says, I'm not here, but I'm speaking through my medium, and I actually am alive. I may even publish another book, who knows? The last one, unpublished as yet, is partly about ghosts. And in case you wondered, it's what paleoanthropologists call genes that don't belong to the body they found them in. The genes come in an ancestor in the distant past who has become bodiless. And she says, to make sure that I say, check it out, this is true. It's unbelievable. But Frankie doesn't make anything up. The NBCC Award, she says, I note, is a fairly old prize. It goes back to 1975, or before many of you were born. It includes many of my most favorite people. And these really were her friends. Bob Silvers, Elizabeth Hardwick, aforementioned, John McPhee, Toni Morrison, Alfred Kazin. They were Sandrof winners. It's a curious list in that it includes not only novelists, poets, nonfiction writers, but also groups that are not even writers. Institutions like the Dalkey Archive Press. But, Fitzgerald says, that is the glory of this prize. It celebrates all things that make literature possible. And that is why I am so glad to be chosen. And she says, thank you, Adam Dalva, President, and host Christopher Ursher, and the many board members who are here, present and past, and she also thanks her medium. So I'm thrilled to be here, and she is really thrilled to receive this award and is just unwell and can't be here. Thank you.
The ever-eloquent Elizabeth Taylor, you can see why Richard Burton was impressed. And now I have the pleasure of announcing the third annual Toni Morrison Achievement Award, established to honor institutions and organizations that have, over time, made significant contributions to book culture. I want to thank the Morrison family for letting us honor Toni Morrison in this way, and longtime NBCC member Jeremy Reed for nominating this year's winners. This year, we actually have two winners, so you should donate twice as much. First, for those of you who wish to expand your minds without leaving the couch, we honor the Public Broadcasting Service. PBS is, of course, Big Bird and Fred Rogers, Masterpiece Theater and Frontline, but it's also expertly curated book criticism on Now Read This and hard-hitting independent social commentary. And do we have a video to honor them?
Hello, I'm Sylvia Bugg, Chief Programming Executive and General Manager for PBS. To the National Book Critics Circle, thank you. This recognition connects two things that PBS has always believed belong together, the screen and the page. For more than 50 years, PBS has been a gateway for reading. When Ken Burns presented The American Revolution this past year, the companion book became a New York Times bestseller. When Masterpiece brought All Creatures Great and Small to Sunday nights, it introduced a new generation to James Herriot's beloved memoirs. And every day, PBS Kids programs like Super Y, Sesame Street, and Molly of Denali are building the next generation of readers one story at a time. That impulse to spark something that outlasts the screen is the through line of everything we do. We don't just want to entertain, we want to awaken curiosity, to make someone lean forward and think, I want to know more. Whether that story lives in a book or on screen, it has the power to change how we see the world and each other. That is what Toni Morrison knew, and it is what PBS has always tried to honor. Thank you.
And second, for those of you who wish to expand your minds without leaving the couch while keeping your eyes closed, we honor National Public Radio. For more than half a century, the wisdom and wit of reviewers like Maureen Corrigan, Karen Grigsby Bates, Andre Codrescu, and the late Alan Chiz have filled our cars and our living rooms with vivid proof that the finest literary criticism need not be on the printed page. And at a time when some question the value of public service, service-minded media, we value PBS and NPR for all you have done for book culture and for American democracy. And I will turn this over to our guest from NPR.
Thank you to the National Book Critics Circle for this acknowledgement. My colleague Adriana Gallardo is here, who shepherds books coverage on Morning Edition, our daily broadcast. She's the person to know. I am Yolanda Sangueni. I oversee the cultural programming at NPR, and our books coverage is truly the heartbeat of the operation. On behalf of all my colleagues at NPR's Arts and Culture Hub, and also the expansive network of over 200 member stations around the country, we are deeply honored to accept this prestigious award, and it is also an honor to share this with our colleagues at PBS.
We frequently return to the founding principles penned by Bill Simmering, NPR's first programming director and co-founder of All Things Considered. His eloquent mission statement, to serve the individual, promote personal growth, regard the individual differences among men with respect and joy rather than derision and hate. These words serve as our enduring charter. Nearly 56 years later, that charter continues to shape our cultural output. From the intellectual joy of our annual Books We Love list to the compelling conversations with authors featured on shows like Fresh Air, Book of the Day, and the daily news magazines such as Morning Edition and All Things Considered. We are dedicated to nourishing the intellectual curiosity of audiences worldwide. As our latest campaign so fittingly reminds us, curiosity cannot be silenced. Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Wu, the chair of the Poetry Committee. When I am not walking, I liquefy. I want to be a stagnant pool of water reflecting a face. Yuki Tanaka's extraordinary debut, Chronicle of Drifting from Copper Canyon, employs a surrealism not for the psychological jolts that we usually associate with the mode, but to create a shimmeringly saturated landscape of metaphors that reflect a self adrift between youth and maturity, modern alienation, and timeless Japanese motifs. Then I could make each wound itself an eye, a way of seeing out upon a world that did act against me. In Ricky Laurentis's sumptuously ranging Death of the First Idea from Knopf, transition and transformation operate in the service of transcendence, seeing through the wounds of a singular selfhood, birthing from a lifetime of oppression, a textured vision of a fulfilled body and gorgeously stocked mind. Night starts at noon. The shadow enters slow, like a child, into the shallows. The exquisite lyrical beauty of Kevin Young's Night Watch from Knopf depicts the slowly advancing night as counterpart and complement to the light of life and day, where the shadowy impositions of race, affliction, and the afterlife become the illumination we seek, the beautifully shimmering clarities of this errant, unyielding, unebbing life. Lustful, moody, shy, I want to keep revising myself like a protean creature. In Henri Cole's magnificently protean The Other Love from Farrar, Straus, and Giroux, a lifetime of fearless self-revision culminates in a witty, melancholy portrait of the poet coming to terms with the chaotic present, reflecting on the otherness of love, art, and mortality through his sublime commitment to the primacy of the inner life. To be both flammable and inflammable, valuable and invaluable, is to understand that one can buckle a thing down so it does not buckle. Tolu Olurentoba's brilliant, restless unravel from McClelland and Stewart ravels and unravels the paradoxes and contronyms that both delimit and unlimit the many, many vivid worlds he inhabits of language, migration, fatherhood, poetry, and Nigeria. And the 2025 National Book Critics Circle Award for Poetry goes to Kevin Young for Night Watch.
Thanks so much. Night Watch is a book I almost didn't publish. After I finished it, after 16 years of working on it, it seemed, well, way too dark. It starts with hell, after all, and a poem about my father's rage at history and its injustices, many of which still continue. But then COVID happened. I pulled it out of a drawer and realized it sounded about right. And going on to realize a kind of paradise, I saw how it attempted a journey of ascent, and that at least on some clear nights, we can still see the stars. I have a number of people to thank, many of whom I'm happy to say are here tonight. But I also want to really thank and admire the wonderful finalists with me and the long list. It's a tremendous year, and this is a tremendous honor for me. I want to thank the National Book Critics Circle, who've always forged ahead and really told us what to read and also told us what to see that we might not otherwise see. So I really appreciate the work of criticism that they do day in and day out and year in and year out. So thank you to them. I want to thank my publisher, Alfred A. Knopf, and my editor, Deb Garrison, who I've worked with for 25 years. I want to thank my agent, Rob. I want to thank, poet Robin Cost-Lewis. When years ago, I was asked to write about the Inferno, and I thought immediately of her, and we decided to split up the thing. I took the first half, she took the second half of the Inferno, and I took the Devil. And then about a week before we were to hand this in, I called her up and said, would you mind writing the Devil? And she said no. So I appreciate that. And after that, I, on my own, just kept writing Purgatory and Paradise. I might as well thank Dante Alighieri, whose Divine Comedy I read when I was 15 in the middle of Kansas in high school, which was its own kind of hell, but also was a delight. It was really amazing to read that book then. I want to thank my kids, Mac and Addie, who inspire me each day. I want to also thank my support system, especially Christy, and thanks to Colson and Richard, thanks for seeing me and for seeing me through. Just a few more. I also want to thank my mother and my aunt who are here tonight in the second row. And I want to thank my father, who isn't here but is. I want to end with a poem that ends the book, Rapture, which, like the books of the Divine Comedy, ends with the stars. Rapture. I want to be awake when the world ends. I want to be my friend who rose to an empty house, even his grandmother and her worn cross gone, and thought it was the rapture that he hadn't crossed over. Let me rip my shirt as he did and tear into the street, hollering, let me hear only my blood beat this morning among the rain before the dawn, no one on the line. Later, when I return, let those I love who left have only gone to the store, running errands, this errant, unebbing life. After, let what I've torn, the myself I mourn, be mended and start over like a scar or star. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Jonathan Leal, co-chair of the Criticism Committee with my esteemed colleague J. Howard Rozier, here to announce the 2025 National Book Critics Circle Award in Criticism. In a year that left us with so many questions, perhaps most prominently, what will become of civilization as we've known it, it was inspiring, illuminating, comforting to sit with this group of books whose authors bore the responsibility of explaining, defining terms, even just bearing witness. Their creativity and moral seriousness reinforce criticism as a vital activity, a responsibility, an obligation to describe the velocity of the falling bricks as the walls shake and crumble around us. May new ways of seeing, listening, and even dreaming be born out of their excavationary work. The finalists for the Criticism Award are Exophony, Voyages Outside the Mother Tongue by Yoko Tawada, translated from the Japanese by Lisa Hoffman Kuroda, New Directions, a dazzling essay collection that defamiliarizes the languages writers employ to render the world and themselves intelligible. Greyhound by Joanna Pocock, Soft Skull Press, a riveting and devastating investigation of personal loss, placial memory, class disparity, and gutted American infrastructure. Hayek's Bastards, Race, Gold, IQ, and the Capitalism of the Far Right by Quinn Slobodian, Zone Books, an incisive critique of the encroachment by neoliberals and the American right of the social sciences from their purported end of history to the present. One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El-Akkad Knopf, a brilliant and clear-eyed reckoning with the moral failings of the West, from the devastation in Palestine to the very concept of the human. And To Save and to Destroy, Writing as an Other by Viet Thanh Nguyen, Harvard University Press, a wide-ranging investigation of political power, the immigrant experience, and the capacities of literary expression to capture otherness in intellectual and aesthetic histories. And the 2025 Criticism Prize goes to Hayek's Bastards, Race, Gold, IQ, and the Capitalism of the Far Right by Quinn Slobodian.
Yeah, thanks very much. A big surprise, but of course a huge honor. It's been alluded to already a bit this evening, but it's a pretty perilous time for the word right now, for the written word. 129 journalists were killed last year, 2/3 by the State of Israel. My own home discipline of history and the humanities is being shredded from year to year, and grad students who 20 years ago would have been excited about the jobs they might have in a few years are now understandably growing cynical and assuming that they will be fed into, at best, a round of adjuncting and maybe a postdoc here or there, and then trying to figure out what comes next. The biggest thing that has also been alluded to is the fact that all of our work has been plundered by tech companies. The ironclad copyright laws that seem to once have been so important have been seemingly set aside so that Anthropic and OpenAI could consume everything that humans have created and create autocomplete automation systems whereby our jobs no longer are required. So this is a time when we need to be guardians, of course, of the written word, and everyone in this room is one by dint of their very presence, and everyone who's been nominated and who has read everything is also part of this army that I'm very, very proud to be part of as well. I want to thank a couple of people. Michelle Fair, the publisher and editor of Zone Books. 20 years ago, I would lovingly pick up Zone Books from St. Mark's Bookshop with my dear friend Haji, who's here, and look at the back image and the side image and wonder at the quality of it and the adventurous nature of the work that people were doing. The fact that I'm part of that now is a huge, huge blessing. Mel Flashman, my agent, has been very supportive of me throughout. My friends keep me sane. Haji, Ryan, Ben, Jamie, Kat, Maura, Kirsten, my sisters, sorry, here's where it gets hard. Mariana and Katrina, my parents, and above all, my wife, Michelle, and my son, Yan. So thank you very much, and this one is for all of us fighting for the word.
Good evening. I'm Grace Toulousan, and I'm the chair of the Autobiography Committee. Each year, we recognize outstanding memoirs and autobiographies that illuminate the beautiful, painful truths about being human. I'm in awe of this year's finalists. Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks, published by Viking, is a moving account of loss following the sudden death of the author's husband, writer Toni Horwitz, while on book tour. The memoir maps grief over time and through place, from the writer's home in Martha's Vineyard to a retreat on a remote island off the coast of Tasmania to the street where her husband collapsed. An intimate, candid, profound achievement of the form. Mother Mary Comes to Me by Arundhati Roy, published by Scribner, begins with a writer who has, quote, lost her most enthralling subject, end quote, her mother, Mrs. Roy, of whom the writer has shared with generations of school children. As a kind of companion book to Roy's novel, The God of Small Things, and other works, the intimate memoir journeys far away in place and time as she creates a life for herself away from Mrs. Roy, first as a student and then as a writer, while concurrently tracing her revolutions around the sun, her mother. Paper Girl by Beth Macy, published by Penguin, the author of Dopesick, returns home to Urbana, Ohio, to tell the story of an American town in crisis. Deeply researched and meticulously reported, Macy writes about the people living in the aftermath of the broken promises of economic opportunity, while weaving in her own story as a paper girl to an award-winning journalist. This memoir, which includes photographs by Josh Meltzer, is an achievement of narrative and compassion, as well as a call to action. Shattered by Hanef Qureshi, published by Echo, is an astonishing book about a writer who falls on one Boxing Day and awakes utterly changed without the ability to move. This memoir, first dispatched from bed and later revised with his sons and partner, is about that catastrophic fall and everything that comes after, how life continues relentlessly, and how through stories we can find a way home to ourselves. A Truce That Is Not Peace by Miriam Taves, published by Bloomsbury, a first memoir by the author of Women Talking, opens with the question, why do I write? And throughout the book, which is comprised of letters, fragments, lists, quotations, and even more questions, contemplates silence in the space opened after the loss of her father and sister to suicide. This memoir is an unflinching, powerful, tragicomic meditation on being alive. And the 2025 award in autobiography goes to Arundhati Roy. Mother Mary Comes to Me. Nan Graham, Senior Vice President and Publisher at Large of Scribner, will accept this award on Roy's behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I love and admire Arundhati Roy so much, and I wish she was here. You would have heard her read last night. She would love you. You would love her. It's she is the bravest woman I know, and she loves people who help her find readers, and that is you. An award makes a book last longer, and that I am so grateful to you for making this book last longer. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Iris Jamal Dunkel, and I'm honored to be the chair of the Biography Committee. I'm looking for my notes, sorry. I had the privilege of serving on this committee with the former chair, Elizabeth Taylor, with Christoph Irmscher, my partner in crime running this event, Heather Scott Partington, Lauren LeBlanc, Jacob Appel, and Tobias Carroll. This was an incredible year for biographies, and that fact made it very tough for us to narrow down our list. But we're so pleased with the books written by our finalists this year, each of which opens up history through their incredible research to allow for a deeper, more inclusive understanding of our complicated world. Mayuk Shen's Love Queenie, Meryl Oberon, Hollywood's first South Asian star, reclaims the story of the South Asian Hollywood star, Meryl Oberon, who was the first Asian and only South Asian to be nominated for a Best Actress Oscar. Shen chronicles Oberon's glittering life alongside the tremendous sacrifices she had to make, hiding her race to stay working in a racist Hollywood. Alex Green's biography, A Perfect Turmoil, Walter E. Fernald and the Struggle to Care for America's Disabled, tells the story of Dr. Walter E. Fernald, who transformed our understanding of disabilities in ways that continue to influence our views today. But as Green reveals, Fernald was a complex character whose legacy is both inspiring and troubling. This well-researched biography brings back a story that had been hidden in the archives for a century. Amanda Vale's biography, Pride and Pleasure, The Schuyler Sisters in an Age of Revolution, opens to us a new and fascinating view into the lives of Angelica and Elizabeth Schuyler, daughters of colonial Hudson Valley aristocracy whose lives were transformed by the American Revolution and whose names many only know from the lyrics of a famous musical. Through careful research, Vale unlocks a feminine view of this period we have previously not understood. Ashley D. Farmer's biography, Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore, proves that you can recover the story of a subject even when their archives have been dispersed. In her monumental work, she recovers the respected life of the Black nationalist Audley Moore. Finally, Carla Kaplan's biography, Troublemaker, The Fierce, Unruly Life of Jessica Mitford, which unfolds the fascinating life of Jessica Decca Mitford, who left her aristocratic life in England to live as a communist in Oakland, California. Kaplan's attention to detail in this comprehensive biography gives us insight into the famous mudraker's life, whose fearless approach to journalism still reverberates today. And the 2025 Biography Award goes to Alex Green for his biography, A Perfect Turmoil, from Bellevue Literary Press.
I used to own a bookshop, and I always thought the cruelest thing you could do was ask a group of people who are reclusive and hide behind a desk to get up in front of a large audience and speak, so here we are. I also am reminded that 10 years ago I made a very declarative statement to my wife that I would never, of all this disability writing, I would never write a biography of Walter Fernald. So shows how good I am at this. We had a great reading last night. If you weren't here, watch it on YouTube. It was really fascinating and wonderful and beautiful. And sorry, quite a lot of work went into this book. So I used to badger poets when I had my bookstore, and I would ask them all kinds of questions. And I wrote to the poet, Donald Ravel. I asked a million questions about poetry that were so annoying. And he wrote back a very gracious reply, and I wrote back a very big apology that I'd written too much, and he wrote back that the poet Bob Creeley once said the conversation of poetry is poetry. And I think that's true for this amazing literary culture. And that conversation is really the NBCC's doing. So it's very important to me. You can see why, as a disabled person, and all of the speaking in this motion, I wanted to write this book. So I don't seem to have the words, but the words are in the book. And I'm very grateful to you all. Thank you.
Doing double duty backstage. Anyway, boy, that was very moving. My name is Christoph Irmscher. I was the chair of the NBC's 2025 Nonfiction Committee. I had the great privilege of serving with 5 excellent committee members, Colette Bancroft, Iris Jamal Dunkel, backstage, Mary Ann Gwynn, Jonathan Leal, and Michael Schaub. Thank you so much again. When we first met last year, we agreed we were looking for books that were well written, expansive in scope, and meticulous in research. Books that would each, in its own way, change our view of the world as we know it. I'm delighted to say that our 5 finalists have all exceeded the expectations we had. It was such a wonder to be able to spend time with these books. Scott Anderson's magnificent The King of Kings chronicles the downfall of the Shah in the manner of a dizzyingly detailed medieval tapestry. We meet the Shah himself, a despotic king too soft for his hard job, but too vain not to want it. His ruthless Islamist opponents hiding behind the shield of religion, and the Americans, ill-equipped even then to understand the toxic web in which they had become enmeshed. The consequences are with us today. Barbara Demick's beautifully told Daughters of the Bamboo Grove revisits the heartrending story of Chinese twin girls ripped apart by China's one-child policy. One to remain with her birth family, the other to be raised by adoptive parents in the United States. No reader will be unaffected by the scene in which Fang Fang is wrestled away from her mother. Daughters of the Bamboo Grove becomes a profound meditation on nature and nurture and what happens when politics disrupts family. Karen Howe's Empire of AI tracks the rise of Sam Altman, showing how altruistic ideas turned into a naked quest for dominance, reliant on networks of exploitative labor. Howe's is a gripping tale in which there are no heroes, not even tragic ones. A tale in which vaulting ambition, greed, personal insufficiency, and a blatant disregard for ethics have replaced human decency. They have created what Howe identifies as one of the biggest threats facing us today. She powerfully ends her book with a plea for community-driven AI. Greg Grandin's epic America unfolds the tangled history of the relations between the two Americas separated by the thinnest of borders and a thick wall of ideological difference. As Grandin shows, one half of the divide remembering its origins in colonial oppression, continues its hope for democracy, while the other half, and I won't say which one, remains stuck in imperialist dreams of its exceptional mission. Finally, Gardner Harris's sardonically titled No More Tears affords us an uncompromising look at the damage wrought by Johnson & Johnson, the quintessential American company. No American family has been spared, asserts Harris. He combines this grim assessment with a scorching indictment of the American healthcare system in the US, the one country in the developed world with the highest share of preventable deaths. All these books are, in my opinion, winners. The rules of our competition demand, however, that we settle on one book only. And the 2025 NBCC Prize for Nonfiction goes to Karen Howe for The Empire of AI. Karen is in Hong Kong and cannot be with us today, but she sent us a video. And after the video, her editor, Scott Moyers, will step up and accept the award for her, president and publisher of Penguin Press.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sad that I can't be there with you tonight, and I'm so honored that Empire of AI is being recognized by the National Book Critics Circle. I also can't help but be disturbed by how the themes of this book have grown more relevant by the day. I couldn't have imagined when I chose the metaphor of empire to describe companies like OpenAI that the metaphor would turn literal, as the empires of AI and the United States empire abet each other in a violent, expansionist agenda to dominate the world. That said, it's not the time to despair. In Hope in the Dark, Rebecca Solnit reminds us, hope is not the belief that everything was, is, or will be fine. The evidence is all around us of tremendous suffering and tremendous destruction. Hope locates itself in the premises that we don't know what will happen, and that in the spaciousness of uncertainty is room to act. I've never been more hopeful of our chance to advance a different future. As I've met with thousands of readers around the world, the energy and conviction I've encountered everywhere to resist and to demand better has been extraordinary. So it is with a special, profound gratitude that I'm receiving this award tonight among people who write, edit, and treasure books. To celebrate the written word is one radical act of resistance against the imperial project that seeks to strip us of those words and of our humanity. Let us continue to resist defiantly and together. And let us remember a lesson from history. When people rise, empires always fall.
I will leave it at that, but what a great honor it is to accept this award in Karen Howe's behalf, and I share her great gratitude to the NBCC for the award and for the vital work it and its members do. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Heather Scott Partington, the Fiction Committee Chair. It's my distinct honor tonight to present the 2025 NBCC Prize for Fiction. The Fiction Committee searched widely for books that surprise us with their ingenuity, books that ask questions, that ask insistent questions, books that can ask us to consider the wild, capacious, and elegant possibilities of the form. This list of fiction finalists is a list of 5 novels that will stand the test of time. Books for each of us in this room and for future readers who will encounter the world anew in their pages. My hat is off to each of these 5 finalists. Thank you for your work that we've been so privileged to discuss all year. The finalists are The Antidote by Karen Russell, published by Knopf, an expansive, spellbinding work of speculative historical fiction grounded in the bitter pain of climate catastrophe of the American Dust Bowl. Russell's Prairie Witch helps a town forget while reminding us that it's dire to sever connections to the earth, time, or each other. Audition by Katie Kitamura, published by Riverhead, is a work of duality, a stylish diptych that plays on our assumptions of characters and then promptly inverts them. Kitamura paints with subtle strokes. Delicate tension hums beneath both halves of the story about a mysterious male-female relationship, electrifying each gesture and word. On the Calculation of Volume, Book 3, from New Directions, by Solveig Balla. Translated from the Danish by Sophia Hersey-Smith and Jennifer Russell, is a meditation on time and loss in an endless November 18th. Balla's is a novel of connection within moments of great isolation, an exploration of the risks of change and a nod to the way that time-arresting events reveal our most rudimentary desires. We Do Not Part by Hong Kong, translated from the Korean by Yi Ye-won and Paige Anaya Morris, and published by Hogarth. It is a work of blinding melancholy, bleak weather, and murmuring syntax. It is a subtly rendered sketch of trauma in the wake of the Jeju massacre, and a rumination on creation and truth amidst loss. This artful novel lingers like an atmospheric and arresting dream. In the Wilderness by Angela Flournoy, published by Mariner. It's an incisive, fresh take on interpersonal dynamics, a novel spanning lifetimes and the myriad manifestations of female friendship. Flournoy's characters are more than thoroughly rendered. Their story is nuance wielded with intention. The author critiques our chronically online, geographically divided communities, even as she proves that connection is vital. The 2025 National Book Critics Circle Award for Fiction goes to We Do Not Part by Hong Kong. Hong Kong is unable to be with us today. In her stead, David Ebershoff, Vice President and Editor-in-Chief of Hogarth and Executive Editor of Random House, will accept on her behalf.
Thank you so much. We're really honored and surprised to win this. Kane could not be here tonight, but she sent these words. She writes, "Thank you, I am so honored. Thank you to the 2 translators of We Do Not Part, Emily E.A. and Paige Morris. I appreciate the incredible connection you have made for this book from my mother tongue Korean to English. Thank you to my US editors, David and Parissa, for everything you have done for this book. I would like to thank the whole Hogarth team as well, and thank you, Laurence, for all your care. I would like to thank the ones who helped me while I wrote this book for 7 years. Yun-Suk Yang kindly helped me with the dialect of Jeju. I'm also in debt to what the Sa-Sam Research Institute of Jeju Massacre has worked on for decades. I would like to thank Kim Ne-ri and Lee Sang-sul, the 2 editors of the original Korean edition. In this book, there are the ones who have resolved not to bid farewell. Instead of the impossible farewell, they choose to stay within tenacious mourning. They light candles below the sea in the pitch black plunge of the night. I still hope to believe in the blinking light which we have in us and move forward, holding it with tenacity, hopefully. Thank you so much for your incredible support. Deeply, I appreciate it. Thank you."
Hello again. Wasn't that great? Incredible. So moving. Great books. Can we first just give one last round of applause to all the writers who joined us here tonight? Thank you. Thank you for giving us life. Thank you to our fabulous board. Thank you most of all to everyone in this room who writes books, who edits books, who represents books, who works with books, who designs books, who send us books, who support books, and who love books. We'll see some of you at Star Foundation Hall if you have a bracelet, but I hope we see all of you next year. Have a great evening.